Far Cry is a series I'm a huge fan of. Although the series no longer makes the impact it did in its heyday, I am still a fan. And although we are hearing more and more news about the development hell Far Cry 7 seems to be in, I still have high hopes that a new installment will be awesome again. Far Cry 6, the latest installment in the series, wasn't for me as good as the earlier installments, but it was still a more than solid Far Cry title with perhaps the best setting in the series ever. However, the series really went sky high with the release of the third installment in 2012, seen by many as the best Far Cry ever made. And although it laid the foundation of what Far Cry games are doing today, I must honestly admit that 3 wasn't my favorite installment.
What?
I thought the game was great, but it was Far Cry 4 a few years later that really grabbed me. That is also the only Far Cry I completed 100% and got the Platinum Trophy for back on the PlayStation 4. And look, although part 4 is my favorite, the foundation was laid in Far Cry 3, with open worlds, outposts, radio towers and crazy bad guys. So I thought maybe it would be cool to see if that game is still worth playing now in 2026. And perhaps it will even change my mind about which Far Cry is the best. Who knows? Alright, ready? Let's get started. In Far Cry 3 you play as Jason Brody, a young American on vacation on a tropical island with his brothers, girlfriend and some other friends. They are enjoying life, doing cool activities and having a great time, until apparently things took a turn for the worst when it turns out that you are trapped in a cage, captured by pirates. You also immediately meet Vaz, the leader of this pirate group.
That is crazy.
Something Far Cry games always do well is to put you face to face with the bad guy quite quickly, so that it becomes immediately clear this is the one you are going to fight, and this is no different here. Anyway, together with one of your brothers you try to escape from Vaz's camp, but this goes horribly wrong, after which your brother dies and you yourself only just manage to escape.
I'm gonna give you 30 seconds. And if this jungle doesn't eat you up alive, fucking tough! I said get the fuck out of here, you chicken fuck! Run, Forrest! Run!
Run, Forrest! Run!
You are picked up by a certain Dennis, a follower of a rebel group consisting mainly of original island inhabitants called the Rakyat, led by Citra, batty and fearless by profession.
A brave joke in the face of death. Fine one. I'll give it back to you, but I cut it off. Thought you liked jokes.
You are taken into their group to fight Vaz and his boss Hoyt and thereby free your friends and family. And although Jason isn't exactly a killing machine by nature,
Oh god, I can't do this great.
and makes this clear multiple times, you do turn into a killing machine pretty quickly.
I've never shot anyone before.
20 minutes later.
One who eventually gets sucked deeper and deeper into Citra's tribe, literally by the way.
I'm not going to judge your journey. It is your fantasy.
And ultimately finds his calling on the island and so decides to not go with his friends but stays to free the island and return it to Rakyat.
I'm not going.
What?
What are you talking about?
It is a story featuring a really cool character arc for Jason, one in which you must go from a mere tourist to a true killer. And although it sometimes goes from 0 to 60 very fast, the premise is really well told and certainly something I am willing to look past.
I don't understand.
What absolutely helps are the truly classic missions, such as the one where you have to take down a wheat plantation with a flamethrower, but also the huge array of cool characters the game features. Characters like Dr. Earnhardt, a drug-addicted doctor who hides your friends in a cave near his house when rescued, is goofy but fun. But also characters like Buck, a raping psycho who sends you on all sorts of missions, is awesome despite his rather dark side.
Bon voyage, mate.
What about Sam Becker, a no-nonsense killer with German roots who isn't afraid of a bit of guns blazing action?
You ready? Blitzkrieg!
Seriously?
And there are more cool characters, but the most important one is undoubtedly Vaas. Even though he isn't even the big bad guy of this game, he still became the poster boy of Far Cry, and every bad guy is compared to him. It is not without reason that in Far Cry 6 they even casted Giancarlo Esposito for the role, just to compete with Vaas, but even he didn't come close to the amazing performance of actor Michael Mando.
You're my bitch. I rule this fucking kingdom. Shut the fuck up, or you die.
Vaas, with his unpredictable anger outbursts, is always intriguing, terrifying and also interesting, with perhaps the highlight being the speech about the definition of insanity.
Insanity is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again. Expecting shit to change. That is crazy.
They are cutscenes that always keep you on the edge of your seat, every time.
Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
Not bad, not bad.
The gameplay of Far Cry 3 is, as I think well known, an open world first person shooter with small RPG elements. It is an open world that you have to unlock bit by bit and get under control. You do this by capturing outposts and sabotaging radio towers. Capturing an outpost is very simple, you eliminate all enemies in the camp. However, you must try to do this unnoticed, because if an alarm is sounded, heavy reinforcements arrive, which you then also have to eliminate. You can spot enemies with your binoculars or through the scope of a sniper and then plan your tactics. Sometimes I chose to disable the alarms to then try to kill everyone unseen. But if that didn't work, then I could just go gun-ho without the fear of reinforcements. But sometimes I chose to snipe from a distance, other times I released a wild animal in the camp and just let it wreak havoc. When you manage to do it completely unseen without setting off any alarms, you get more XP than if you get caught. Once you capture such an outpost, it brings several benefits. A shop opens, you unlock some new gear, the outpost itself serves as a fast travel point, a few side missions become available and, perhaps most importantly, you drive the enemy forces out of that area. Where the map will be red when there is an enemy camp in that area, you must slowly turn it green so that you can move freely and do not constantly run the risk of running into enemy patrols. You also unlock the map by sabotaging radio towers. These are vantage points that you have to climb, flip a switch and ta-da! The map will be clear instead of being hidden, after which you can see roads, icons, hunting grounds and even more details when you open the map. And that is how you unlock the map bit by bit. Although radio towers don't necessarily become more challenging, they never get tedious either, partly because you can ascend them quite quickly and you don't need skills that you only unlock later in the game. The outposts do get a bit trickier with more enemies, heavier enemies and more alarm posts, which you either have to shoot down all or manually disable one to take them all out. But although they get a bit tougher, it never becomes impossible, also because you unlock increasingly better weapons with cool attachments. And with a heavy sniper rifle that also has a silencer and a great scope, you can clear many camps easily, even towards the end of the game. However, what you also need to do is upgrade your skill tree and your gear to make things just a little easier. You upgrade your skills by leveling up. Everything you do, from clearing outposts to completing missions to even simple kills, gets you XP. And for every level you get a skill point, which allows you to upgrade yourself in 3 categories. This skill tree is symbolized by a tattoo on your arm, and every time you unlock a skill, you see your tattoo expand in-game. A nice detail.
Very nice indeed.
The skills are useful, but with all due respect, fairly standard. Think of more options for stealth kills, more health bars, more accurate shooting with certain type of weapons, etc. But it is precisely their simplicity that makes it so fun, because you know exactly what you're getting. It is nice and clear, unlike the skills in games such as Borderlands. You upgrade your gear by hunting wild animals on the island. There's all sorts of things to upgrade. A larger holster so you can carry more weapons, larger pouches for explosives or ammo, a larger syringe kit, you name it. In the beginning, the animals you have to hunt are quite harmless, such as goats and deer. But soon you have to go looking for sharks, tigers or other dangerous animals that the island is full of. By the way, those animals can be anywhere and sometimes you get attacked from an unexpected angle when you are just free roaming. And sometimes you might just find yourself face to face with your mother.
Oh, snap!
Once you have found and killed the right animals, you can skin them and use the skins for upgrades. Improving yourself and your gear feels very organic, partly because you choose what you want to focus on and how you want to play. If you want to get the upgrades faster, choose a skill where killing one animal gives you 2 skins and then go hunting. Do you want to have a choice of multiple weapons quickly, then go focus on upgrading your holster. And this way you can continuously choose what you find useful and focus on that, and it feels really cool when you become more and more the ultimate warrior bit by bit. So Far Cry 3 is exactly what it should be. Hunting animals for upgrades, skill trees, outposts you can conquer and radio towers that unlock parts of the map. Far Cry 3 laid the foundation for this, and in my view it was perfected by Far Cry 4. But now that I have truly replayed Far Cry 3 thoroughly, I have to say this might actually be better than Far Cry 4.
Thank you!
I particularly enjoyed the outposts in Far Cry 3 because they aren't necessarily complicated. And climbing radio towers doesn't require a specific skill, so it never becomes a drag, and the number of camps and towers is just right. The shooting works very well, as always in Far Cry games, and soon you will be popping many headshots. Additionally, the game isn't afraid of a quick time event every now and then, but it never really bothered me. In fact, during this Indiana Jones-like scene, it actually worked very well. But if I may give one minor flaw regarding the gameplay, it is that the traversal in vehicles isn't great. The driving is a bit sluggish and even small obstacles can cause bizarre crashes. And because this is also in first person, you might occasionally overlook something. Sailing and flying with gliders works fine, although landing takes some practice. Incidentally, the wingsuit you get later in the game ensures that you actually won't use the hang glider anymore after that. Sailing works just fine, although steering is sometimes a bit clunky, especially on jet skis. But what is really annoying about the traversal is that the GPS doesn't show a route, meaning you are often opening and closing the map to plot the right path. And I understand that you are on an island and all of that, but if your island has guns with all the modern bells and whistles, then having a normal navigation isn't that strange, right?
Flawless logic.
The presentation holds up very well for a game from 2012, even in 2026. You can see the age reflected a little bit graphically in the rock formation assets and in the facial animations of some NPCs, but the faces of key characters look really great and the rest of the island is still stunning. The jungle setting, which is in my opinion actually the best setting for a Far Cry game, is still very cool, and the island is full of awesome environments and vistas. Especially when the sunlight shines through the trees, you get a real summery feeling and the game looks at its best. But besides the beautiful scenery, as if in paradise, the game doesn't shy away from setting a stark contrast with brutal scenes. But during the many drug trips, you also see completely different graphic styles, from bizarre trips to fight with demons, all while tripping off your balls.
Dude, I'm totally tripping balls.
And the way fire spreads realistically through the jungle is still done really well and adds a tactical element. But it is also in the presentation where I have the biggest problems with Far Cry 3. I actually have two downsides, a very small one but also a very big one. Let's start with the small one to get the nitpicking out of the way. The game I played was a re-release of Far Cry 3, the classic edition from 2018, when the game also came out on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. However, the tutorial videos for some skills haven't been updated, as they are still displayed in a lousy 360p. sloppy.
Tisk, 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 tisk.
But the biggest problem with Far Cry 3, admittedly the classic edition, is that it really runs terrible on PC. And I don't mean in terms of FPS or stutters, but in terms of massive hard crashes, where the game just stops and goes to the desktop. I sometimes got them every 5 minutes, even right in the middle of missions or while clearing an outpost, and if you then reboot the game, you have to start all over again. And I would only briefly mention 1 or 2 hard crashes, but this number is utterly unacceptable. Once again, I'm talking about the PC version. I don't know for sure how it is with the console versions, but a simple Google search didn't convince me it's any better. What worked somewhat for me was verifying the game files, but even then I was still getting them after say an hour.
Wunderbar.
Sarcasm.
In 2026, Far Cry 3 is still absolutely worth it and a great Far Cry. I still think part 4 is my favorite, but this one is really close. However, Vaz is still the best bad guy ever in the Far Cry series and perhaps in any video game.
Come on, motherfucker. Pull the trigger!
And the gameplay is unsurpassed. Additionally, there was a standalone game based on the assets of this game called Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, which is also highly liked within the franchise, but perhaps that is something for another video. Whether you think 4 or 3 is the best, you are going to have a great time here, but hopefully you won't be bothered too much by the hard crashes. I'm also curious if people have found better solutions for those in the comments, let me know. Anyway, Far Cry 3 is still a blast from the past, an absolute gem. Ubisoft, come on, go back to these roots.
I mean, come on!
And with that, we come to the end of this video. What did you think of Far Cry 3? Did you play it back then or do you still need to check it out? Let me know in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe here if you thought the video was cool, that helps my channel a lot. And for live gameplay you can check out my Twitch, twitch.tv/gameplayofjay, and don't forget to follow me there too. For more content, check out the suggestions on the left or the channel on the right. For now, thanks for watching, see you in the next video, bye!